change. It's changed. It's not funny, but it's quite funny because when they were waving, oh, they're better, they're this, they're that, but now all of them are on YouTube. All of them are on Patreon. We been did that over here. Featured me on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. She was the main one that was hating. They got this blogger lady just everywhere, and now Kandi is a blogger lady.
The timeline didn't explode when this happened. It froze. That's how you know it was serious. Because when Tasha K opened her mouth and calmly said what she said about Kandi Burruss, it didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like confirmation. The kind that doesn't need receipts because the damage has already started behind the scenes. No screaming. No theatrics. Just a quiet statement that made insiders tense up and fans suddenly realized the story they thought they knew was already outdated. For years, Kandi has been untouchable, business first, emotionally controlled. The woman who never slips unless she already knows how she's going to land. So when Tasha K suggested that the balance had shifted, not exploded, not collapsed, but shifted, the room changed. Because a shift means pressure, and pressure doesn't show up overnight. It builds silently while everyone assumes strength means stability. What made this moment terrifying wasn't what was said. It was what didn't follow. No denial, no quick Instagram post, no carefully worded statement. Just silence. And in celebrity culture, silence like that is never empty. It's strategic. It means conversations are happening off camera. Decisions are being weighed. Leverage is being calculated. Then the whispers started. Alleged messages. Supposed recordings. Insiders hinting that this isn't a scandal story, it's a management story. A long one. Fans began replaying old scenes, noticing pauses, tension. Moments that suddenly feel different now that the frame has changed. Because once a frame shifts, you can't unsee what no longer fits inside it. This isn't about drama. It's about power, timing, and what happens when a perfectly controlled PH image starts to feel heavier than the truth it's protecting. And the scariest part? Whatever comes next won't feel shocking. It'll feel inevitable. The silence after Tasha K spoke was louder than any rant could have been. It wasn't messy, it wasn't chaotic, it was controlled, and that's exactly why people panicked. Because when someone known for volume suddenly lowers their voice, it usually means the real conversations already happened somewhere else. Tasha didn't accuse. She didn't dramatize. She framed. She suggested that the story people thought they were watching had already moved on without them. And once that idea landed, the internet did what it always does best. It started connecting dots that had been ignored for years. Old interviews resurfaced. Old scenes were rewatched. Fans noticed how often Kandi carried the emotional weight while presenting calm. How often Todd deferred publicly but seemed positioned privately. None of it looked explosive on its own. Together, it started to feel like pressure. And pressure is the one thing you can't dismiss as coincidence. Then came the alleged leaks. Not the kind that scream scandal, but the kind that feel uncomfortably personal. Messages supposedly sent late at night talking about exhaustion, about always being the one expected to hold it together. A recorded voice note, grainy and incomplete. Circulating with the claim it was captured during a private disagreement where a voice says, "I'm tired of being the solution to problems I didn't create." No names were attached. No confirmations were given. But the phrasing hit too close to the image people had of Kandi for it to be ignored. Suddenly, silence wasn't read as strength. It was read as containment. And containment always implies something is being held back. Social media turned into a battleground overnight. Twitter split into sides, arguing not about guilt or innocence, but about interpretation. Some said this was just another blogger stirring dust. Others said the tone was different this time. Colder, more deliberate. Clips of Tasha's commentary went viral. Not because of what she said, but because of how she said it, calm/measured. Like someone who already knew which details mattered and which ones didn't need to be said out loud yet. Then celebrity reactions started pouring in indirectly. Not statements, but subtweets. Vague posts about knowing your worth, quotes about silence being louder than words. None of them mentioned names, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Fans started screenshotting everything, building timelines, speculating which messages were about which situation. The narrative was no longer controlled by any single voice. It was being crowdsourced in real time. What made this moment feel different was the absence of denial. In celebrity scandals, even false ones, there's usually a reflex to shut it down immediately. A lawyer statement, a clarification, a dismissive joke. None of that came. Kandi didn't rush to reassure. Todd didn't jump in to defend. That kind of restraint isn't confusion. It's calculation. Because in high-profile marriages, every word carries legal, financial, and reputational consequences. Speaking too soon locks you into a version of the story. Staying quiet keeps options open. Reconciliation, restructuring, or separation without committing publicly to any of them. Silence here wasn't passive. It was strategic. Insiders, or at least people claiming to be, started whispering about renegotiations behind the scenes. Not dramatic fights, but long conversations. The kind where balance is examined instead of emotions. Where the question isn't, are we happy? But is this sustainable? Kandi's empire complicates everything. When you're financially independent, culturally respected, and publicly admired, vulnerability becomes risky. People don't ask what happened. They ask why you allowed it. Strength turns into an expectation, and expectations become cages. Tasha's commentary hit that nerve without naming it directly. She talked about pressure, about being the one everyone assumes can carry more without cracking. That assumption is deadly because it lets strain go unnoticed until it's already reshaped the relationship. Todd's role became the quiet focal point of the conversation, not because of any single action, but because of positioning. In relationships where one partner holds more visibility and leverage, balance has to be actively maintained. It doesn't happen naturally. Over time, compromise can start to feel like obligation. Maintenance can replace intimacy, and that shift rarely announces itself. It just settles in. Fans began debating whether Todd benefited more than he contributed, whether that even mattered, and whether those questions had been circling privately long before the public ever noticed. Again, no proof, just patterns. And patterns are dangerous because they don't rely on receipts. They rely on recognition. They rely on recognition. The longer the silence stretched, the more attention shifted from words to behavior. Appearances changed. Energy shifted. The absence of casual interactions that once felt automatic started to stand out. Silence moved from strategy to strain. Because while silence buys time, it also invites interpretation. And interpretation hardens into belief faster than facts ever could. At this stage, the story wasn't about what Tasha K revealed. It was about what the audience could no longer unsee. The illusion of effortless stability had cracked. And once that happens, every future moment gets filtered through suspicion. People stop asking if something is wrong and start asking what decision is being prepared. Behind the scenes, according to alleged insiders, conversations weren't about drama. They were about leverage, about timing, about minimizing fallout, about whether maintaining the image still served the people inside it. That's the part the public rarely gets to see. Relationships like this aren't just emotional bonds. They're structures. They intersect with contracts, production schedules, business ventures, and shared narratives that extend far beyond two people. Any shift inside the relationship sends ripples outward. That's why silence is chosen carefully and broken even more carefully. And that's why when it finally breaks, it rarely sounds like chaos. It sounds like resolution. Tasha K's most calculated move was stepping back after lighting the fuse. She didn't chase reactions. She didn't demand answers. She let the moment breathe. That shifted responsibility away from her and onto the situation itself. Now, the silence belonged to Kandi and Todd, not the messenger. And that's where the real pressure lives. Because silence works best early. Prolonged silence starts to look like a standoff. And standoffs force conclusions. As days passed, fans began to speculate not about whether something was wrong, but about what outcome would make the most sense. Stay and restructure, separate quietly, or redefine the relationship publicly in a way that preserves control. None of those outcomes require scandal. They require acknowledgement. At its core, this isn't a story about betrayal. It's a story about balance eroding quietly under the weight of expectation. About what happens when the person known for being unbreakable starts to feel the cost of always holding everything together. The real collapse, if there is one, won't be loud. It will be internal. It will be the moment when protecting the image feels heavier than telling the truth. When silence stops preserving peace and starts draining it. When strength stops being armor and becomes a burden. And by the time the public hears anything definitive, it won't feel shocking. It will feel like the only move left right now. The story is still tightening, compressing, waiting. Silence has done its job. The pressure has been applied, and something has to give. Whether that's clarity, confirmation, or a carefully crafted new narrative, no one knows yet. But one thing is clear. After this moment, nothing looks the same. And whatever comes next will not arrive with a bang. It will arrive with direction. Now listen carefully, because missing this could mean missing the moment when everything shifts. This story isn't over, it's evolving in real time behind the scenes. In ways that will change how you see every clip, every interview, every public moment from here on out. If you think this is just celebrity gossip, think again. This is power, timing, and balance being exposed in a way that the mainstream will never fully show you. Every silence, every glance, every subtle shift matters if you're not watching closely. You're already behind, so here's what you need to do. Hit that like button right now. Comment your take. Do you think Kandi's managing, negotiating, or silently recalibrating? Drop your thoughts before the next revelation hits. Because once it drops, the conversation will move faster than anyone can catch up. And most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications. Missing this next update means you'll be scrolling through reactions instead of being part of the moment when everything changes. This isn't optional. The narrative is live and the stakes are real. People are watching every move, every pause, every word, and the ones who stay ahead are the ones who see the patterns before anyone else. Don't wait. Engage, comment, share. Be part of this story now, before the next layer drops and the silence finally breaks. Because in situations like this, the first reaction isn't just news, it's power.